Episode 7, techniques to maintaining, developing, building relationships. My name's Bjorn, one of the owners of Corporate Connections Canada, along with Robert Gervais, the global president, and Trevor Botkin, my partner in crime at Corporate Connections, and one hell of a lovely, lovely man.
Wow,
that was nice.
Yeah,
that was nice.
Special.
I will pay you after this.
That was the special thank you, because I really, really appreciate working alongside Trevor and building, maintaining, developing relationships on an everyday basis. Who's the Bjorn identity? Right here alongside, fueled by Corporate Connections. What's Corporate Connections? Corporate Connections is a global platform. It's a proven structure Our proven structure results in our members sharing opportunities for business growth, strategic alliances, joint ventures, and the co-creation of new enterprises. Our members are continuously collaborating to move business forward. Trev.
Sure.
What is Corporate Connections?
Well, it's a community of business owners that are like-minded, that are trying to help each other grow. I would say at the end of the day, it's just a community.
Predicated on relationships.
Well, everything's predicated on relationships. Maybe that's the oversimplification of it. But, increasingly, most of us don't live in the cities we grew up in. You're both fortunate. You grew up in this city. Well, maybe not grew up, but you both have lived in the city your whole life. But, so many of us don't. We find ourselves in new cities where we don't have the relationships that we developed over our whole lives, our whole career. I was talking to a gentleman the other day who just moved here. He's in his 40s. And so I asked him, how do you meet people? He's like, it's the friends, the parents of the friends of my kid.
100%.
Yeah. And so I think that's something that we've done a great job, is creating a community of business owners who are all with a growth mindset, who want to grow their business. And we leverage those relationships that to create and foster these opportunities for exchange, whether it's
it's interesting. There was someone had mentioned to me, it sounded a little bit weird, but it's not. It's tough to make friends as we get older. And like you said, Trev, it's from my office, my kids' activities, from my wife's office. Or common activities we're doing. It's not easy. And so to create that environment takes work. Takes effort.
Some people don't want new friends. Like the number of adults who are like, I've got enough friends.
Well, you Dunbar, right? We have 250, we're loaded, we're packed, but then there's a phenomenal book by the godfather of networking, Ivan Meisner, and it's called Who's in Your Room? And at what point do we do an audit and say, maybe we need to clean house a bit, that spring cleaning.
Is that what this is? This is an intervention. We're cleaning house today?
So, Trevor, we didn't want to tell you,
but you've been voted off.
Yeah.
Hell no, you're voted in. But Robert, what do you think about building, maintaining relationships?
I think it's fundamental to living a quality life. For me, it just simplifies everything. If I surround myself with the right people, my life is immeasurably easier. It accelerates me on everything that I want to achieve. So
the good, the bad, the indifferent.
Well, yeah. Look, hopefully the good.
Listen, the good, the bad, the indifferent. When times are great, it's great to have our relationships and the people around us.
100%.
When times are tough, it's great to have those relationships and those people around us.
I think that's where you see the relationships. And your story in the last 2 years is I think, exemplary of that. When everything's going great, you have your friends and whatever it is, and then with the health condition of your wife since May of 2 years ago, that's when you see who your friends are.
Absolutely.
Like who shows up.
Well, and it's also what's amazing. So yes, on the one hand, so for those who don't know the story, my wife had
this is the epitome, Robert. Thanks for bringing it up, Trev. It's the epitome of true relationships.
Yeah,
right?
Look, my wife had a massive heart attack out of nowhere. Healthy person, 5'11", like thin, athletic,
drop dead gorgeous, blonde.
No, not even 40 yet,
so,
right?
She was 38.
38.
Like this made absolutely no sense.
We all think so, Robert.
Yeah, it made no sense. It happened out of nowhere, and we're incredibly fortunate with the doctors and the medical system and everything else. But part of what really helped us was this network of people across the globe, because within 12 hours of this event happening, I was reaching out to people across the world and asking to be connected to other cardiologists, other experts, other medical experts around the world, because this was a pretty unique set of circumstances. And she wasn't supposed to make it. And she today she's had a heart transplant. She's doing terrific after 26 operations. But in those early days, the network, the number of people who connected me to some of the world's best and or certainly most recognized cardiologists and surgeons and experts in this field, I was speaking to people that I would have never accessed otherwise. Never, not a chance. And they were doing it because the right person introduced them to us.
Well, you told that story once of your early on, your cardiologist came up to you and says, I don't know who you are.
Yeah. So I mean, in the first, so one of the things, so I'm a firm believer, obviously, in relationships. And I think the more personal a situation, the better, generally the better result. People are more invested. So one of the first things I did, there were 11 doctors, different types of specialists working on her. And I did a bit of research, found out who they knew, found out who were mutual connections, and then I reached out to my network to say, hey, if you know so-and-so, can you let me know? This is the situation with my wife. And everyone responded very quickly, of course, because of the severity of the situation. And I said, can you reach out to them and let them know to treat this woman like their daughter or like their spouse, depending on who the doctor was, right? The age of the person. And within a couple days, the doctors were coming up to me, and that's what they said. Yeah, that's what she said. She said, I don't know who you know. Either you or your wife are really well loved, because it's amazing how many people have been reaching out to us to say, please take care of this woman.
Yeah, and that's on that professional side, but also on that personal side was heartfelt for all of us, Trevor and myself, our whole Corporate Connections community. You never want to have to rally around anything like what happened, but to see the outpour of love, respect, it really touched me, just that people took the time to say, hey, man, we're thinking of you. Well, and they were, right?
And look, the two of you were there every step of the way. Kai, you were at my house that morning, the day of. And I was trying to push people away, and I couldn't push them away. They're like, no, we're here for you. And because I was uncomfortable asking for help.
Yeah, but, 100%, Robert, but that didn't happen on the spot. Building those relationships, building that community was over years. And that's what we're talking about today is how to not only build but maintain the relationship.
Consistent. That's right. Consistent investment in maintaining relationships.
That was a perfect example of a circumstance that happened that ignited all of us to rally. But, we don't want to ever have that happen again. So what are some of the things that we can do to maintain relationships? This guy here, Trevor Botkin, I find is a master when it comes to that. I'll be sitting in an event and he'll sort of whisper something of some situation that's transpired that Trevor's following up, whether it's just saying happy birthday, whether it's you bought a home, whatever it may be. He's an active listener. So I think active listening, and Trev, to you, you are always considered very considerate. Can I say that? Considered considerate?
Sure.
Yeah,
you just did.
Yeah, it came out nicely. Yeah, good.
We have
use.
another one. Once you answer this question, we'll tell you about the 3 C's that we did in the last
there we
podcast.
go.
No, but I think, and I think all three of us are guilty in our own right. I think it always starts, like, before you can be an active listener, you actually have to give a damn about the person in front of you. You know what I mean? Because we've all been in that situation where you're trying to be an active listener, but you don't really maybe appreciate the person in front of you. So it's really hard because they're just droning on. But if you actually care about the person, and I think we're fortunate to be in a community where every one of them I think of as somebody important in my life. And so when they say, or my daughter's going through this, or I'm buying a house, or my marriage is whatever it is that they're going through, I file it away better than I do with their business. Honestly, sometimes they'll tell me what they do, and I'm like, okay. But the personal stuff, the things that I think matters more than the job in many ways, the thing that we'll be known for more than what we do in life, our kids, our spouses, what we do in our community, I think is far more long lasting than, how many accounts we closed that week, or, how much money we made that year.
Can I Can you have different tiers? I mean, yeah, 100%. I want to surround myself with people I appreciate and respect. And I know appreciate and respect me. But it doesn't have to always be. We can have that second tier where I respect.
Sure.
But I'll give you.
We appreciate and respect. But you know what I'm getting at? Like, we don't have to be besties with every single one in our network for someone to have an integral role or be valuable to us.
It can't be equal. It's not like socialist friend zone, right, where everyone's treated the same. Of course not. You know what I mean? But I think you have to prioritize your energy also. And some people I resonate really well with, and other people I don't necessarily resonate with.
But I'll give a different example. So often people tell me, "Oh, well, you're a natural networker, or you're a natural connector."
No.
And I go, well, actually, no. I get home at night, and I love my silence. I like reading a book. I like getting away from everyone. I go, it's.
You are the only guy I've walked into a bar, and you've arrived early, and you're leaning on a post with a book open in a loud, noisy environment, focused until I actually get up and bump into you, and you go, oh, turn the page down, close the book. Yeah. So.
Well, yeah. I think there's a time and place for everything, and I think part of that is we don't want to overextend ourselves because then we have nothing left to give. But a great example of how you can build a relationship, and I'll take so when I had a technology company called Zero Fail, and we were relatively small, and it was super important to have good financing. So, and I think it was maybe Mark Russo, who's one of our members in Corporate Connections.
Longest-standing global member.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, you're right.
Mark Russo.
So he
LVR
and he and I
Communications.
He and I go back over 20 years, and he was in banking, and he had told me something at one point, and I tried to do this. He said, "You need to build a relationship. You need to connect with your banker." And
that's a big tall order.
But it was an interest. So what I did though is. Every month, I would send them our financial statements without them asking. And I would proactively manage that relationship. I would never I tried never to have him call me. It was always me saying, hey, let's sit down. Let's talk about what's coming in the next year, the next 2 years. And what happened is we built this level of trust where I was so proactively managing, and I had debt with the bank, that they were offering me more debt and more opportunities for investment. And then they started connecting me to their clients because I'd built a level of trust with my banker. And so any relationship, if you invest in it in the right way, you can build a relationship. You can build a connection. And this one, and I was very open with the banker why I was doing this. You know, I wanted to build a level of trust so that I could get more financing. Very simple. I'm building a business. So and we became friends, not a close personal friend, but to this day, if we see each other, we'd help each other, and we'd want to collaborate. So we maintain that relationship. But it's amazing how people say, "Oh, it's not in my nature. I can't do it." Of course you can. You just have to it's proactive communication. It's being open and honest.
It is learned, and that is one of the things with Corporate Connections. That is the beauty of bringing a melting pot of leaders around the table, is that we're going to benefit and learn from each other's skills. And so on that note, I find it interesting. Sometimes you can understand building relationships, deep, strong, solid relationships with people that can add value to what you do, i.e. collaborative or in some capacity. Is there a reason for us to open that up to just good people? Do you want to build your network? And what I mean by it is that one never knows who someone knows.
Yeah.
And so having people in your network understand what you want, what you do, what you're looking for, how you do it, enables them to be much better positioned to detect an opportunity. And so that piece of the network, I find gets lost.
Yeah. So
like, what's in it for me, man? What can you do for me?
And
it's not a bad thing that we do. It's just human nature.
Yeah, so one of the guys that I respect is Jeffrey Gitomer and the little black book of connections. We mentioned it previously.
Show it. Again, you've talked about it.
So the little black book of connections.
Trevor and I have now ordered it.
And I'm not...
I've never heard of it.
It's standard
today.
reading for all Corporate Connections.
No, look, but he has a great story where he talks about how we prejudge as humans.
Yeah.
And it's really hard not to prejudge. And he talks about an experience. He used to manufacture or produce T-shirts, amongst other things. And he was at an airport and saw a guy who was frustrated and like banging on a bank machine. This is back before phones. This is way back, and it had eaten his Amex card. So he said, I could have thought this was just like some ranting lunatic. Instead, I went up to him and said, hey, what happened? He explained to me and how his card got eaten, and he didn't have enough cash to even do simple things for that day. So he goes, so he gave him $100 with his business card. He said, let me help you out. He goes, a few days later, I get an envelope with $100, the guy's business card. He goes, give me a call. And we start talking, and it turns out that he is working with the Olympic organization. And he goes, eventually it turned into a $750,000 order of T-shirts for the Olympics. And he goes, I didn't do it for that reason. I could have judged him, and I did when I first saw him. But I made a concerted effort to be open and say, you know what? I'm going to help just because I can. You never know what it's going to lead to. Sometimes we have an impression it's wrong. So, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
I think
sometimes we go down the well and go, whoa, get me out.
Look, I'm sure maybe we haven't all had the same experience with a mutual friend of ours, Renaud. I'm driving, there's some maniac honking behind me, pulls out next to me, feels like there's about to be an altercation. I look out the window, he's the guy driving the other car. We see each other, we're like, hey, how's it going? Because we know each other. But at that moment, I had prejudged whoever was behind me. And he was in a bit of an urgent situation.
I think we all would have prejudged the honking,
we never
belligerent.
know what somebody else is going through.
Well, 100%.
So I think
that's
you
right there.
You keep an open mind, and it's amazing once you get to know someone. Most people are pretty good. Most. So if you take the time and you get to know them, it's amazing what can happen.
But I think one of the things that comes up to me is this idea when we talk about building relationships, or even before you get into maintaining, like when you start building it, I think, and this is something what I love about our community is most of us are business owners or entrepreneurs, and there's a sense of curiosity that I think that comes with most of our members. Like you start talking about your business or their business, and it's pretty quickly like, no, tell me more about your business. I want to know more about that. And they ask you questions, like, well, why do you do that? And like, what was that about? And why was that choice? And I think that level of curiosity is something that's always, I think, is a big part of building relationships. That idea of like wanting to know more. And not because you get anything from it other than maybe a learning opportunity or that aspect of it, but you're getting something from it, from just the idea of wanting to know more. And so I think the hallmark of somebody who's really good intrinsically about like networking is someone who's curious. And I hate networking. Yeah. Like I go to events. I'm the guy at the back of the room.
The three of us.
Well, I'm not.
Hey, whoa, hang on. I didn't say I hate networking.
No, I don't. I don't.
It's work. It's network for me. It's getting when I go out, I have to put the face on and put energy, and I'm tired after. And
there was an ad from The Economist about 15 years ago where it said, "Would you like to sit next to you at dinner?"
Yes.
Exactly. Well, yeah. And I used to say, "What does that mean?" And of course, what it means is, I want to be the person that's going to attract people, that's going to attract positivity. And if I'm not the person who's giving that off, I'm not going to attract it. Mm. So yeah, sometimes you got to put on your game face, and that's fine.
No, but that's.
I want to pull Trevor. I'm going to jump in. I want to pull it back to maintaining, developing the relationships, which you're very, very good at, and it's that active listening, right? And so when you meet somebody new, it's not written anywhere. This is fresh.
No, I was going to make a joke about not listening. I was going to say, I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Yeah.
No, but
there was a joke
listen,
there. I'm like,
but you're
very
good at that, and that's the nature of what we do. But it's having a better understanding of what someone does positions me in a better capacity to support them. If I'm able to detect an opportunity for someone in my milieu, my circle, one of my relationships with someone else, they're both happy.
Yeah.
So there is this benefit. It's not just goodwill, there's a reason why. And so developing relationships, how do you do it?
Well, I think the first thing after active listening would be being able to check your 100%. Ego, right? Like you have to check your ego if you're going to listen, because I think most men, we tend to listen to respond as opposed to listening to understand. And active listening is you're trying to
gain insight.
Yeah,
knowledge.
But it's and I think now I have an advantage because I had 20 years of acting experience, and so much of that training comes from what's not being said. right? Like the subtext of it. And so listening to the emotional cues, the body language, these other things. As an actor, you rely on the energy in the room. And so oftentimes when somebody's talking to me, I'm trying to also hear what they're not saying, and then like pick that apart a little bit to say, help me unpack what you just said there, because there's something there that's really interesting. And so oftentimes when people are talking about business, what they do today is less interesting to me than the choices that led up to that business.
Yeah, I think, and you mentioned Dr. Meisner earlier, and it kind of touches on what you've been talking about as well. 5 words. How can I help you? It's a simple question. And if it comes from a genuine place and people know that, that's going to open up conversations that you won't have otherwise. And I asked that question this morning with Pete in the UK. And I think he said it jokingly. He said, I'd love to be in a movie. Like, be an extra. I just love to be in a movie. It would be fun. And completely out of the blue, had nothing to do with our conversation. Now, he knows I worked in film at some point, and I know some people in the UK. So I got to make some calls and see if I can make it happen. But if I don't ask the question, and it's at the end of an hour-long conversation, and he doesn't give me that answer, maybe this never happens. So we'll see where it leads. But
what
it's
level
amazing.
of movie? Because we can also...
Nothing
The
inappropriate.
thespian,
but
now
like-
the
I didn't mean
thespian's perked his
inappropriate, but
interest.
I'm saying it doesn't have to be a Hollywood movie, does it?
No.
Okay.
It could be a donation to Geordie.
It could be a
And-
made-for-TV project. I mean...
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, we're going in a little deeper than I wanted
A little
to.
deeper,
now,
but it's Pete, right?
But it's,
so
it's
I'm
when you
willing
ask.
to-
Trevor
I'm
does
willing to pitch
a
in.
great job at doing that. He will steer the conversation to how can I help you, and that's that active listening. And one of you gentlemen said it earlier, that I think it was you, Trev, that we wait for someone to start talking so we can just start. And so if we can be proactive and ask questions, learn, and the person's much more apt to divulging stuff, and then they're having a great conversation, and we're stimulating our network. I love it. It supports effective communication, empathy, and understanding of someone.
Yeah, and I think value creation
100%,
is a
man.
key one. So if I know that you're going through whatever challenge in your business, and I take a few minutes to do a bit of research and send you some ideas, you're not expecting that.
No one expects that anymore.
No. So you do that. People,
An article that has some
Hey,
cool
I was thinking
information
of you
or
today.
updates. Yeah.
I read this. Just it's not like, you read this, this will help you solve it. It's just like, I was thinking of you. I read this. I'm sharing it.
Yeah,
That goes so far.
absolutely, because everyone's
Yeah.
busy.
Everyone's busy.
So when someone sees that you're actually taking the time to think of them and try to help them, and you have that problem-solving attitude, you're working towards finding solutions, you're building trust. You're building
You're
a
a
relationship.
benefit to them as well. And there's nothing wrong with being a little selfish in life, that we surround ourselves with people that can benefit us. And this this art of developing, maintaining, strengthening, building relationships, don't kid yourself, man. It's a powerful tool. It's afforded me many successes in my life. When I learn about somebody, I'm able to try to help and support them. They want to help me.
Yeah.
It's human nature, right, to give back. And we see that all the time when they come at the end of the call and say, how the heck can I help you? And now we have an opportunity, like Peter. I don't want to go into movies. I want to learn to kite surf and be a better surfer, so I need to go to beautiful destinations with
Did
beaches
they
and
make
beautiful
kite
waves.
surfs big enough for you?
Nice.
Yes.
Yes, they
I
did.
wonder how do I show that well on the Bjorn identity?
No, just I'm
I need
tall,
to-
I'm big, and I just, you're bigger than me.
We should point out
It's a
that
power shoot.
Yeah,
It's
Kai used to play professional American football, Canadian football, but for most people out there, it's American football. So
It's not soccer, is what you're saying.
correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not
Glad we all cleared that
Now
out.
we cleared it up.
but Kai did as a young toddler play soccer.
There you go.
Listen,
So I mean, Kai, I think at the end of the day, it's consistency, communications, integrity. It's being there for the person. It's giving for the sake of giving, not expecting anything in return.
Yeah.
It's really a way of being. And I think if you do that consistently, and obviously we're all people who try to live that in our lives, hence why we're in this business. And I think if we do that properly and we can help other people do a little more of it, they're all going to benefit from it.
And I love that point on on regular check-ins. And I think we talked about that a lot when your wife was going through that. The number of people who would drop off after the first couple of weeks, and then there was a couple people, and Brian even in his experience, that just they showed up.
Yep.
Every time, and I think many of us
notice it.
We notice it, but I think many of us are uncomfortable around the subject of death, and or that, and we show up really well in the beginning when it's all crazy, and then you want it to go back to normal as fast as possible. So I think. And you said you never know what someone's going through. That was one of the points of we don't know what other people are going through. So I think that idea of just, even if it's creating a list of people that you should be keeping, touch with, and just saying, okay, I'm going to call so-and-so just to say, hey, thinking of you, wanted to say hi. And that's it. And it's uncomfortable sometimes to do that for people. But I think if you want to maintain relationships, and if you want,
there's work. There is some effort,
and but again, I think the value of, because none of us do that for if something ever happens to me, then they're going to take care of me.
Not.
But the reality is the human experience is a shared experience, and I think we all need to recognize that fact, that to go through it as an island or to go through it alone sucks.
And if you do that with the right people, I'm going to bring it back to business. I think if you have that attitude, also with you, and often we separate business from personal relationships, but if you treat those business relationships with that kind of value, you will create long-term success.
100%.
It's a long game.
It's a long game, and no one cares how much you care until they know how much you care, whatever that expression is. And
it's an important quote. I think muddling through it might be a disservice.
No one knows how much you. No
one cares how much you know until they know how much you care.
We're going to be dubbing that over. No one cares how much you know.
You want to try that? You want to try it, Trevor?
Fire it out.
It's no one cares how much you know
until they know how much you care.
Until they know how much you care.
There we go.
Mrs. Roosevelt.
Is that who it is?
Yeah, well, a couple people have been given that one. But
that's
the last
perfect.
One
Not only did you correct me, but you corrected me with the
Eleanor
quote,
Roosevelt.
The origination of the quote. Yeah, it's an important piece, and it's work, it's effort, and I think that you need to understand the value that's associated with that, and you need to realize that having a diverse, strong network is invaluable to you personally and professionally. As Trevor alluded to, there's the personal sides that we benefit, as you brought it back, the commercial sides that we can benefit, but there is a benefit.
We might need to do an episode on diversity, looking around the table.
I don't have a beard.
Yeah, listen, it's important, Trevor. That's an important point. It's
that's
why I love
the best 10 seconds of the episode right there.
That's why I love our Corporate Connections chapters, because of the diversity that we have. Our network is global. Our network has every creed, every color, not every country yet, but soon to be around the table, and so that we can get insight, knowledge, experience from a very large variety of people, which is strength for us.
Yeah.
Closing comments, Robert?
Well, I love what you just said about people from around the globe, because one of the things that has stood out for me over the last 7 years of traveling and getting to meet these people, we're all the same. We're trying to build a life for ourselves. We're trying to achieve certain things. We're trying to create I think most of us, a better world for our kids to inherit, and we're trying to create opportunity for them. And when you have real conversations with people, it's amazing how quickly those cultural barriers break down, and you find that commonality, and from that commonality, there's opportunity. And when that happens, it's magical. You connect at a deeper level, and I think you're richer for it. And if you can do that, then congratulations. I think you've really built quality relationships with good people, and let's do that around the world.
Trevor?
He took my time, so I'll just say how much I appreciate having relationships with the two of you. For the last, you and I, it's been almost 9 years now, and then Kai and I for the last 6 years solid. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be part of this community.
On that note, we are richer, as you said, for the relationships that we have. They make us stronger. They support us. good times and in bad. Active listening. I think for me, what I pull from today's conversation, it's active listening, and to your point, Trevor, it's consistency in connecting and sending out. I mean, there's a multitude of different platforms now, whether it's WhatsApp, Messenger, this, that, the other, where we can actually schedule some time, and that's that discipline, the art of maintaining, developing, building, strengthening our networks, is having a system or a strategy in place that enables us to do it consistently, because I forget and the days go fast. And so carving out 30 minutes in the morning just to be respectful and go back out to make sure everyone's okay. And like you said, Trev, it's kind of nice when someone reaches out to me and says, how are you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, if I'm too busy, I'll just say fine, done. But I might want to say, hey. And we've had people come back to us and say not great, and warrants a phone call, warrants a connection, warrants a meeting. But the Bjorn identity is extremely proud to have had the two of you gentlemen on, fueled by Corporate Connections. That's the platform that keeps us connected. If anyone's interested in finding out more about Corporate Connections, corporateconnections.ca. And it'll be Trev that will connect with you and invite you to a meeting, whether it's locally, nationally, or globally.
They can also go .com too if they want to see the whole international community.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Corporateconnections.ca. Let's keep it.
No, I'm just saying.
That was more work, because we are not regional or national. We're a global platform. Thank you, gentlemen. Bjorn Identity, Kai Bjorn. Appreciate anyone out there listening to our 2 cents. Have a beautiful day. Thank you very much. Cheers.